morning. Say good morning, it could be any time of day. So this is Pilates level 2/3. We're starting on the floor today. In fact, just before we begin, let me grab my block. So remember, if you don't have a block, a hard back block is just as good. And we can sit on that to take the pressure out of the lower back. We want the bones of the bum to be on the edge of that block or hard back block, and you can use a cushion as well. That's absolutely fine. Remember, just before we begin, that if there's any injuries, then this is not suitable for you to be doing. Okay, so injuries, we should be sat down, relaxing, healing, recovering. If anything feels uncomfortable during the session that we do today, then I would suggest that you stop immediately. Listen closely for alternatives and adjustments, and adapt as and when you need to. But if any time anything feels uncomfortable, then please just stop. That's absolutely fine. So we're starting on the floor today. So a little bit of a different start, and we're starting on our bottom. So sitting on our bottoms, we can either have our legs crossed, but I know this can be uncomfortable for some people. So if it is uncomfortable, you can always have your legs extended. You can always have the legs slightly bent. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to have mine crossed. I'm just going to bring my foot on top because my broken toe still bothering me a little bit. So in this position, just take your hands onto your thighs. Draw your shoulder blades back and down. You're pulling the belly button in towards the spine, and all we're going to do is just begin to rock the pelvis. So we're kind of crunching in and then rocking the pelvis. So we're rocking back and forth, back and forth. So nice and steady, and this is just getting that synovial fluid moving around the lower back, that synovial fluid. So that's like our lubricator. I may have just said that. I think I'm half asleep this morning still, so I do apologise. I think I say that every week as well, so I apologise. So nice and steady, we're just rocking backwards and forwards, getting that movement into the lumbar, the sacral part of the spine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tuck it under slightly so it feels different to how you started when you were sat in this position at the very beginning. So just ever so slightly. So we've got a more neutral pelvis. And what we're doing is, once we've got this tuck, is we're lengthening out the back a little bit, okay? Take your hands and just place them onto the rib cage and just begin to focus on your breathing. So we're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you continue with that, this is what we call lateral breath. So we're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, breathing into the lungs, into the rib cage. You're going to feel that expansion and contraction as you go. And this is how we should be breathing for the hour ahead. I apologise now, I feel like my mouth's going to be half asleep during this session. So, but that's how we want to be breathing throughout. And don't worry if you go back into shallow breathing or how you naturally breathe, because I'll be mentioning our breath throughout the session. And then let the hands relax. Now very gently this time, let's bring our awareness into our pelvic floor. So we've already got that little tuck under and that little tilt and that adjustment in our posture. Let us now become conscious of the back of the bottom, so where that crease line, that crease in the bottom starts. Right at the back there, we're going to contract those muscles, and as we contract those muscles, we begin to contract into the middle of the pelvic floor and round to the front. So remember, as I mentioned, normally it's like an elevator, and we've got our first floor, our second floor and our third floor. And when we've not got any of those floors in action, we're on the basement. We're in the basement, okay? So we want to come up to the third floor and we want to stay on that third floor. Let's take a few moments just releasing and contracting those 3 points to feel how that feels when you have 1 in place, 2 in place, 3 in place, or 3 in place, or just 3, just 2, just 1. So get used to how that feels. Now, dependent on how it feels at the very front on the third floor and how it feels on the second floor, that can give you an indication as to where you're weak in your pelvic floor and where you may need to do more work. So pelvic floor exercise, just this simple exercise of contracting and releasing is really good to strengthen the pelvic floor. So let us now take it up to that third floor, and let's hold it in place. Begin to draw your belly button in towards your spine so you've got tension and stability, but you can breathe and move comfortably. Once we've done that, hands just resting on the thighs, and let us begin to have some beautiful double chins. We're going to squeeze the chin in and then let it relax. So when we squeeze the chin in, we're stretching out into the back of the neck and the top of the shoulders, and release. Squeeze in and release. Squeeze in and release. Inhale, exhale. 2 more. Last one. And relax. Cervical rotations. We're just turning the head to the right, back to the center, and to the left. Just bringing some movement into that cervical plane. Inhaling as you come through the middle. Exhaling as you come out to the side. Let's go one more time to the right, one more time to the left. Very gently bring it back to the center. This time roll the shoulders up and down. Your hands may drop by the side as you do this. So we're lifting up to ears, drawing them back and down. That feels lovely. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. One last time. Opposite side. So just roll in the opposite direction. Last one. And relax. Hands either side. Very gently, lateral flexion. Remembering if we've got osteoporosis, we're going to keep that range really nice and small. So we're just going over to the side. Ooh, I can feel that in my hips, a little bit tight. So nice and steady. Exhaling as I come over. Remembering if I'm wishing to, if I'm wanting to, if it feels comfortable, I can take it that bit further and get a bigger stretch. Lengthening and opening up along the side of the hips, the obliques, internal, external, shallow, deep. Oh, let's have one more to the right, one more to the left. And then bring it back to the center. Hands resting just on the thighs, simple rotations. Let us take our left hand to the right knee, right hand behind, sitting tall, look over, and then just swivel around and doing the same. So all the time, so just literally stopping there for a moment. Again, if we have osteoporosis, I really don't want you to worry about what's going on with the hips, but if you do not have osteoporosis, then we're not encouraging that rotation in the hips, okay? So nice and steady. The movement's coming in the thoracic, in the rib cage. Last one. And then come back to the center. Nice and steady. Very gently, excuse me, gosh. Bend your knees and take them long in front. Now I know my feet are out of the picture, so I'm just going to turn to a side angle. So as we're sitting here and our legs are long, you can see my bones are on the bottom, on the edge there. We're just going to draw our feet in and then we'll point them out. So draw in and point out. So draw in and point out. Draw in and out. So flex, and you should feel it into the calves and then into the thighs and the shins as you point. So just for 4, 3, waking them up, 2 and 1. Gently bending one leg and holding on to that knee, just rotate your ankle in one direction and then the other direction. And then relax, change over. And don't go getting any false sense of security, thinking, this is nice, I'm liking this, feeling nice and steady so far, not working too hard. It's mobility, isn't it? Nice and steady, relax. Draw the knees in. Again, posture, keep that tuck. Heels up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Just for 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. We're going to come down onto our backs now. So remembering if we've got back issues, we're going to come down onto our side. We can have a cushion underneath our head if we so wish. So very gently, feet hip distance apart, hands just resting by the side. Take a moment to be conscious of where your eye alignment is. We want to be looking straight up, not behind, not in front. We're just looking straight up. Shoulder blades back and down, feet hip distance apart. Let us start with simple imprints. So we're just going to tuck the tailbone up towards the ceiling, imprint the lower back, mid back, upper back. So then release at the upper, release in the middle, lower. So different starting sequence today, nice and steady. So just gently, imprints. And remember, I always go on about imprints, so I won't go on about them today. But they are brilliant for just getting things moving. We've already had that pelvic rock at the minute, so we've already got that synovial fluid pumping around the lumbar, the sacral part of the spine. And we're just inhaling as we imprint, exhale, bring it back. Two more. Last one. And then bring it to that neutral spine position. Let us bring our right leg up to 90 degrees. If we've got active sciatica going on, it's flaring up, it's causing us pain, then we're going to keep that foot relaxed, just as you can see my foot is right there. If we have no issues with sciatica going on, then we can flex that foot. So what we want is that knee over the hip. Bring the hands onto the hips, so the fingers, index fingers and middle finger, ring finger, just resting on the hip bones. So we've got a nice 90-degree angle. And if you imagine, so you can see I'm just bringing that leg down a little bit, we want to imagine we've got a tray just resting on the top of this leg. All we're going to do, just with the right leg, is extend it out, and you're going to keep that tray in place as it goes. So it goes out, comes down towards the floor. Now remember, if this feels too much on your back, what we can do is that tray's going to slide off right down your thigh onto your tummy, but that's fine. You're just going to bring it back to the 90 degree and push it up to the ceiling. If you want an alternative to that one, a little bit harder, we can just push it out at an angle, or we can have that down towards the floor, heel doesn't touch, and drawing, keeping the foot flexed if we've got no sciatica issues going on. So nice and steady. So because the foot's flexed, you should be feeling that into the thigh, into the shin, nice and steady. And we're breathing in, breathing out. So you should be feeling the thigh working. Keeping the hands on the hip bones, being conscious that those headlights are facing up towards the ceiling. So nice and steady. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it back. Now straighten it up. Now again, you can have a bend in the knee if you need it. Straighten up as best as you can. We're making a circle from the hips. So we're going round in a circle. Keeping those headlights up towards the ceiling, across the midline of the body. Same leg. So we've not changed legs so far. So taking your time. Now being conscious that both those, the lower back, the dimples of Venus, are staying on the floor. So we've got the hips nice and strong. Now let's change direction. So going in the opposite direction. Oh, I can tell I've been working my thighs the past few days because they're on fire. Nice and steady, controlled. So 4 more. Last 3. Last 2. Last 1. Ooh, bend. Bring it in. Bring your feet together, bring your knees together, keeping the hands on the hips still. Sticking with the same leg. We've not shifted onto the other leg yet. Very gently. Hands on the hips, thumbs on the rib cage. So we're square away. We inhale as we gently take that knee out to the side, Keeping those hip bones, those headlights up to the ceiling, only goes as far as you can keep the headlight up to the ceiling. If it starts to go completely out, the hip's going to rotate out. So we need to keep an eye on that range. What we also need to be conscious of is as we take this leg out, the opposing side is nice and stable. It's not wobbling, it's not shifting. If it's wobbling, it's shifting, that means we've got an unstable pelvis in this position, in this exercise, okay? So what we do is you would make your range smaller. You could place one hand on the thigh to just challenge that, okay? So nice and steady. And we're breathing in as we take that leg out. Breathing out as we bring it back. So 4 more. Last 2. Last 1. Bring it back center, turn the feet out and then heels out so you've got that hip distance apart. If you've got a cushion under your head, you may want to take it away for this next part. So, still this leg, okay, still this leg. Draw it back up to that 90 degrees. Remember, we want to have that tray resting on the shin bone. If we have sciatica, we're going to keep that foot relaxed. No issues, we're going to keep the foot flexed. And again, that tray is just resting here. So we've got that neutral spine, natural curve. Take the arms above the chest. What we're going to do this time is as we take the leg out, we're going to take the arms over. Now we must keep neutral spine. So this is option 1. So we're just coming out, same leg again, adding another layer to it. If we're feeling good and we want to add another layer, we're going to come up, look down the body, and then bring it back. So we come up, breathe out. Being really conscious that as you're coming up, that you're keeping neutral spine. So what we don't want to happen is the upper part of the spine, the chest, the rib cage to start lifting. It's a very controlled movement. The arms shouldn't be going all the way back because I would imagine as soon as I take my arms over a certain angle, my upper back starts to lift and I'm lifting off the mat. So then I've lost my form, I've lost my structure, my focus. So nice and steady, 4 more. So breathing in, breathing out. Looking down the body as you come up. Neck issues, don't have the head in, just take it away. Last one. And then bring it down, hands to the knees. Very gently. This time, opposite leg comes up. So starting from that first position again, legs at 90, foot relaxed, relaxed or flexed dependent on our back issues. Fingers on the hip bones, thumbs on the rib cage. Let us push out. 3 options, remember. You have that upwards motion, that angle, or taking it down towards the ground. So just starting at the beginning again. Being conscious that as you come back, you're coming to that 90-degree angle. Okay? So as always, I always mention it's really worth having a big mirror if you can around you. The cool thing about filming yourself is you can see whether your angle, so I can see when I'm coming back sometimes I'm dropping my foot down, so I need to focus on keeping it lifted. Making sure the knee comes back over the hips. So I'm either dropping it down or lifting it up. So nice and steady, keeping your focus, breathing in, breathing out. Last 4. Last 2. Last 1. Bring it in, extend it up, and go straight into the hip circles. So remember, we're going over that midline of the body. We want to keep the hips, those headlights, those spotlights of the car, up towards the ceiling, fingers on the hip bones, thumbs on the ribs, core engaged. Ouch, ouch, ouch. I'm just saying that I've done 2 yoga masterclasses this weekend. had some serious thigh and glute work done. Let's change direction. My piriformis has been stretched the longest it's ever been stretched in my life. Feels good, just wasn't pleasant at the time. So nice and steady, keeping that control. Keep it going, just for 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Gently bend, bring it down, feet together, knees together. This time opposite knee drops out to the side and in. So I'm just going to change directions here just slightly so you can see again. So feet are together, I'm dropping it out, I'm keeping those hips facing open. Maybe my foot will go slightly onto the side of the foot, maybe the inside of the foot will lift slightly, but it's really about keeping those hips open, nice and steady, controlled. Taking our time. Breathing out as it takes it out to the side and in. And again, just moving back, being conscious of what's going on with that other leg as well, because as we shift, this could be waving in the wind, could be gently shaking. We want to keep that stability, so we can always put a hand on that leg to really feel what's going on. Try and have a little bit more control if we feel that if we're feeling it wobbling or being out of place. So let's just have 4 more of these. And last 3. Last 2. And the last 1. And then bring it back. Feet hip distance apart again, so we turn the feet out like penguins, heels out. We've got our hip distance. Neutral spine position, leg comes up, either relaxed or flexed. So relaxed if we've got the sciatica, flexed if not. Hands come up above the chest. We're taking the arm and leg out at the same time. Walking into my lantern. And remember, we can bring the head up if we wish. Now, as we come through this movement, I'm just taking one hand down. If you do bring the head up and you're looking down the body, it's a nice little pat on my curvage poundage. Make sure the tummy is not doming up. If the tummy is beginning to dome up, that means we're coming up too high. So I'm going to see if I can get mine to do it. So if I come up too high, this is going to start bulging upwards. Okay? So we want to bring it lower. I always get a little bulge because I've got a cake belly going on. Nice and steadily. I've still got a slight kangaroo pouch even though my child's almost 5 because I'm lazy. So nice and steady, controlled. Making sure that you're not letting the upper body arch, you're not getting a lift into the mid-back. Breathing in, breathing out. 4 more. Last 2. And bring it back. Taking the feet together, taking the knees together, fingers onto the hip bones again, thumbs onto the ribs. This time, let's take both knees out, keeping those hips facing forward, and then draw them back. Now imagine, if you can, that you're squeezing a ball between those legs. Now if you wanted to make this harder, you could take a band or a pair of tights, tie it around your thighs. If you've got a circle, you could put a circle around the outside or a circle around the inside, on the inside. But if we imagine, it's amazing what you can do with your imagination. If you imagine you're squeezing a ball and then letting it release. So squeezing a ball. Feel that ball on the inside of your thighs and then bringing it out. We don't need equipment. Okay, it's nice and it's great and it's a luxury, but our imagination, when we say to ourselves, imagine you're pushing against a great tension in your thighs, you can feel the difference, okay? And if you're not feeling that, just put a comment on and let me know. And I'll try and work it with you a little bit more. So nice and steady, 4 more. So squeeze it. bringing it back. And as you bring it back, it's not letting momentum carry it, it's really with that control, nice and steady. Last two. And last one. Squeeze it. Now this time take it so far out. Again, keeping the hips facing up. So maybe as far as that range allows you to go, keeping those headlights up. And let's have a little pulse just for 8, small, for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And hold on that little last squeeze. So just that tiny little bit in, hold it there. Then from this point, let's pulse again for 8, 7. So you're not going to go back as much. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Again, from this point, let's pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. It's getting smaller. That range is getting smaller. We're still squeezing that ball. That ball's getting smaller. And pulse again for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. Bring them together. Very gently. Step the feet hip distance apart. Imprint, hands by the side. Imprint the lower back. Tucking tailbone up to the ceiling. Mid, upper. Let's just have 4 of these imprints. Nice and steady. Last 2. And last one. Very gently coming back to neutral. Bring one leg up to 90 degrees. Foot flexed or foot relaxed. Hands by the side. Gently, we've got options here, okay? So we're doing half of the 100, okay? So we're going to do 50 on one leg, 50 on the other leg. You can do this with the head on the floor. So if you've got neck issues, I would suggest you keep the head on the floor and let the hands come off the floor and do the bouncing, but keep the head on the floor, making sure that your eye alignment's looking up. If you want to challenge yourself more, we can lift the head, we can look down the body. Third challenge, you can extend that leg and hold the extension or bring it in and out with each pulse, okay? So, ensuring you've got that pelvic floor, you're on that third floor, the abdominal belt's in place, we've got that 25-30% tension, shoulders relaxed, take a moment, check where your eye alignment is. We want to be looking straight up, not behind, not in front. If we're looking behind, we nod. If we're looking in front, we lift. And remember, if you know you've got that overextension in the neck, you may want to put like a little hand towel underneath your head or a cushion. So, taking a deep breath, come up into position and let us go. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can take one hand behind the head, resting on the base of the neck. 16, 17, 18, 19. So using your breath, using that control, keep going. 31, 32, 33. 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Bring it down, head down, rotate the head to one direction. Then the other direction. Anything where we're bringing the neck into these positions, coming up and down, it can cause tension in the neck, so let's just stretch it out. Bringing it back to the center, opposite leg comes into position, hands by the side. Remember, we can do this just lifting the arms off the floor. We could have the leg like this, or we could have that leg extension, be doing the arms, but keeping the head down. So pelvis is engaged, abdominal belt's engaged. 1. Nice and steady. 5, 6, 7. Breathing in as you bring it out. Breathing out as you bring it back. Remembering you can place, keep going for me. You can always place one hand at the base of the neck. It's not there to hold, it's there merely to offer support. Keep going. engagement. 20, 21. Thirty-four, 35, 40, 41, 42, 43. And relax, bring it down. Knees together, hands together, knees together, feet together, hands by the side, gently, 5 past 2, 5 to 2. Just nice and steady. Easing out the lower back. Very gently, just take your right leg up, take it over the right leg. So as if you're just crossing your legs, and then just gently let the knees come over just slightly. And just hold it there for a moment. So a little lift in the lower back, stretching into the glutes. Ignore me, I've got cramp in my foot. Very gently bring it back. Let's just do the same on the other side. So over we go, cross the legs, and again just tilt it slightly over to one side. Just get that stretch into the glutes. Thread in our laces, as we call it. We've still got that pelvic connection, we've still got that abdominal belt, still laterally breathing. And then bring it back. Coming over onto your side, you may want your block and your cushion. I'm going into side leg series. So very gently, remember you've got different options here. So you may prefer to lay with the arm long and have the head resting on top. Make sure the head's not dropping. You can always pop a cushion just underneath. Or if you've got shoulder issues, you may prefer to lie on your side. If you have your arm out long. Legs are in a nice straight line. We can place one hand in front to offer stability, fingers spread out. We could have it on the hips. That's going to allow us to feel a little bit more of a rocking forward or rocking back. Or we may want it up in the air to challenge our balance, or on the thigh again to challenge that balance. I'm popping mine to the side right now. So the first thing we need to do is get ourselves into a comfortable position. We want our shoulders stacked, our hips stacked, our knees stacked, our ankles stacked, and our feet slightly flexed, okay? If we've got any sciatica issues, if you want to have the feet relaxed, that's okay. So being really conscious that you're not rolling forward and you're not rolling back. So core is nice and stable, lifting, pulling in. Very first thing we're going to do, imagine this top leg is being pulled away. So someone's got a hold of this leg and your ankle and they're pulling it down. And it's going to leave a little bit of hollowing just under this side. All we're going to do is bend this knee up to 90 degrees, foot flexed, and then take it back. Now as it comes back, it's coming to hip height. So it's not going all the way down here, it's coming to hip height. So we bend it up and back. Bend it up to hip height if we can, anywhere between is fine, nice and steady. So just for 8, keeping an eye that as you bring that knee forward, you're not rocking the hip forward, the knee's not dropping forward, nice and strong. So inhale, exhale, inhale, keeping that alignment, 4 more. Should be feeling that into the glutes. Last 2. Last one, hold it here. Hold it here for a moment. Bring it down. Bring the leg down. This time lifting both legs up. Hold them there. Let us bend both knees in and and down. Can we keep that stability? We're only going to do 8. In, legs don't come down to the floor, and down. So for 6, and down. That core's engaged, hips are stacked, knees are stacked, ankles are stacked. Control. Last 4. Keeping that stability. Remember, if you was wanting to make it harder, we can. 3. Last 2. Last 1. And relax. Bring it down. Keeping the hips stacked, ankles stacked, knees stacked, hand in front, on top or at the side. Lift both legs up and slice through the air. Keeping the hips stacked, controlled. So it should be really starting to feel that really into the top of the piriformis now, into the glutes, maybe a little bit in the hip. Remember, if anything's uncomfortable, you draw it back, make your ridge smaller or stop immediately. So just for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold that split, hold it just for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slice in the opposite direction. Hold it for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw it back. Bang the knees in, let them come down. Give it a pat, give it a rub. Check it's still there. Slide that top leg out slightly. It slides out slightly. Hand comes on top of the, across the chest onto the floor. We're pushing up. We're going into mermaid. So as you come up, because you've slipped that leg slightly, you should automatically have that mermaid position. Now we're aiming for both bum cheeks to be on the floor, but mine don't get onto the floor. So don't worry if they're not onto the floor. I'm just going to move this slightly out the way and pop it to the other side because I'm going to need it on the other side later. So I've got my legs in kind of a position like the Isle of Man flag, really. So there's 2 legs. If this is uncomfortable, you can sit with your legs crossed. That's absolutely fine, okay? So, and if legs crossed is uncomfortable, sit with them straight out in front. One hand on the floor, sitting nice and tall, trying to keep those bum cheeks in contact with the floor. But remember, if not both of them are there, the one on the outside, mine's never there. So don't worry if it's not. So pelvic lift, third floor, pelvic abdominal connection. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, we are sliding and we're reaching over. Using our core to lift us back. Opposite hand goes down. We reach, but clearly we're not going to have as big a range on this side. Then we come back. Slide. And if we want to go further, we can. Being conscious that momentum is not lifting. Keep going for me. So nice and steady. Controlled. See all my ripples now. So nice and steady. Going down, going down, going down. We can come onto the forearm. Use the control. Bring it up. And back. Nice and steady. Control. Momentum is not carrying us. It is our core that is lifting. Last one. I've just realised, have I put my arm over to the other side? Possibly not. Hopefully you have been. Get too busy concentrating on what I'm doing. Forget about what I'm doing. Last one, nice and steady. Hold it here for a moment. Really engage in that pelvic floor, abdominal belt. Lift. Last one. And relax. Staying in this position for a moment. Bend this leg. We're going to come over onto all fours and then we're coming into side plank, okay? So we're staying working on the same side. So hands onto the floor, beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. You're going to turn out the outside leg to 30 degrees. Then rotate, slide in. Just move that cushion a bit further, sliding out. Opposite hand. So we've got the knee and the hip under the shoulder. We've got a nice straight line. We're reaching up. So we don't want this arm over the head. We want it here. I'm going to move a bit further along my mat so you can see my full body and what's going on with my foot. So I'm here and I'm holding it. Now, if I want to make this more challenging, I can lift the leg. More challenging still, I'm going to turn my palm over, and let it come over my head and then bring it back. So give me 8 of these. Over, leg on the floor or leg up. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, last 2, keeping that stability, last 1, bring it back, hold inside plank. Hold it here, nice and steady. Head looking forward, we want to challenge our balance. We can look up towards the front. That's going to challenge that balance a little bit more. We want to stabilise ourselves. We can always tuck our toes under on that bent leg. Shoelaces to fall, going to make it more challenging again. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, come over onto all fours briefly for a moment. Knees go as wide as the mat. Big toes together. We come back into shell stretch. So taking the bum behind, tucking the tailbone under, making sure the head's not flopping. Remembering if it is, we can put a cushion under the head. We can always put cushions underneath the bum and the heels. If that's uncomfortable in the knees and the hips, because we've got that rotation out, we can have the knees and the feet facing forward, so in that child's pose, bringing it back, or even have the bum in the air and let the head come down. So it's really what feels right to you. So just hold in that position for a few moments. Let us breathe here. Taking a deep breath. As you exhale, let us come over onto our front. So we're coming down onto our front now. And we're just going to take our hands down in front, let the forehead rest on the hands. Take the feet as wide as the mat, ready for gluteal bracing. So right now that bum is like jello. Pelvic floor is connected, shoulder blades are backing down, we're nice and strong. And all we're going to do is squeeze the bum cheeks in as if you're clutching a 50-pound note. As you do this, the knees, the ankles are going to rotate in. No part of the body is leaving the mat. And then release it out. So as we're doing this exercise, I would suggest that it's worth maybe putting your hands on your bum cheeks. So you maybe want to put a cushion under your forehead or a block. And feeling on the bum, is one of those glutes working harder than the other? Is there more activation going in one side than there is on the other? Really clenching and holding and then releasing. So taking your time through the movement, really clenching, rotating in, feeling those cheeks steady, strong, controlled. Ignore my foot twitching, I keep getting cramped this morning. Clearly not drank enough water yet. So nice and steady, and letting it release out. And again, taking it in. And out. Rolling it in. Rolling it out. So the last 4. Last 2. Last 1. And then relax. Give it a shake. Let it shake out a little bit. And then walk your feet hip distance apart. So they're hip distance apart. Take your hands either side of the chest so that the elbows are just beneath the shoulders now. So in this position, shoulder blades are backing down. We're slipping them into our shoulder blades into the back pockets. So remember, what I want you to be conscious of when we're in this position is, if you've seen the movie Beetlejuice and there's shrunken heads, we want to be conscious that we're not becoming those shrunken heads and sinking into the upper body. So holding this position, now we can just stay here, or we can begin to lift extending the arms out in front, and then come down. So we can either stay in that first position, just holding, stretching out the abdominals, or we can begin to lift. Now the bum should be like jello as we're doing this, so the glutes shouldn't be active as we activate this exercise. Now, if you find that your back is getting uncomfortable in this position, you've got two options really. Take it back to the option one where you're just staying on the forearms, or you could activate the glutes. So when we activate the glutes, they're giving the lower back more support. So that is an option. It's not ideal, but it gives the back more support. But really, we want the glutes switched off, so it's the back that's doing the work. 4 more. Last 3. Last 2. And last 1. Gently bring it down, hands in front, let the head rotate to one side and let it rest there for a moment. Let the head rotate round to the opposite side and let it rest there for a moment. Tuck your toes under, very gently, taking a deep breath. As you exhale, come back up onto all fours. So we're back up onto all fours. Hands are beneath the shoulders, knees are beneath the hips. Tailbone is pushing to the back of the room, elbows are slightly soft, and I'm drawing my shoulder blades together. You're going to ignore me for a moment, you're going to stay in that position. I haven't worn these leggings for ages, and I forgot how annoying they are because they're always coming down. So holding this position on all fours, your tailbone is to the back of the room, drawing the shoulder blades slightly together. So we've got that perfect table. Elbows are nice and soft. Remember, if we've got wrist issues, we can rest on the fist, but just make sure the wrists and forearms are in alignment. That is going to give you a slight tilt on your table. That's okay. Or we could maybe roll up a towel and place that underneath the fingers. It's going to give you a slight tilt in the wrist and take the pressure off a little bit. So from this position, nice and steady, we're taking alternate arm and alternate leg out. So just take it out and then draw it in, place it down. Take it out, draw it in, place it down. So nice and steady, take it out. Now keep going with that. I'm just going to talk through a few things as you're going through it. So being conscious that your hips are level, the bottom is not tilting to one side, so it should be nice and level, core is engaged, abdominal belts engaged. If you feel your shoulder tilting to one side, reduce your range of movement. If you feel your bum tilting to one side, reduce your range of movement with the leg. You don't have to have it floating. You can just be letting it skim along the floor. That's absolutely fine. So nice and steady. Last 4. Remembering that breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Last 1. And relax. Very gently, coming back with the bum onto the heels. Remember, we can always put a cushion between. Rotate your wrists in one direction and then rotate in the opposite direction. Excuse me, easing it out. Very gently, we'll roll it onto our side. I'm changing ends so I can see you. So you're going to want your cushion, your block, or your hardback book. And we're laying on the side. So nice and steady. You could either have that arm long, remember, and rest that cushion in between, or maybe you don't need a cushion, just make sure your head's not dropping so you're not getting that overextension into the sternocleidomastoid that's going to give you tension. We come down and we're in a nice straight line. So, I'm fading into my mouth, I'm so blue. One hand can be in front, we can have it on the hip, we could have it up, we could have it here, okay? I'm going to place mine on the floor. First thing to be conscious of is, are my shoulders stacked? So we want them nice and level, chest open, hips stacked, knees stacked, ankles stacked. Imagine someone is grabbing this top foot and they're pulling it away. So we're getting length and this top leg, and we're getting a hollow in underneath here. The first move we do, this foot, if we've got no sciatica issues, we're going to flex the foot. We're going to bend it, bring it up, and then back, but it comes back to hip height. So we've got that space between the two, just 8 of these. So just 6, nice and steady, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I just counted the wrong way. Last one for me. Bring it back. What am I like? Bring it down, nice and steady. Core engaged, nice and strong. One hand on the floor. This time, let's lift both legs. Lifting up and down. So up and down. Keeping the hips stacked. Just for 8, 7, and it's anywhere in between. 6, 5, controlled, 4, 3, 2, last one, and down. This time, let us lift, so keeping that stack, lift both, slice through the air, slice through the air, keeping everything nice and level, controlled, stable and strong, for 4, 3, 2, hold it in position, just for 4, 3, 2, 1, change it over. Hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Bend, bring them both in. Give it a rub, give it a pat. We're going to move into our side plank. So hand across the chest, come push yourself up, gently come over onto all fours. Just move that out of the way. Then we take the leg on the outside, so opposite leg to last time. So I'm sending the leg on my outside because I'm going to be facing you, so the leg on the outside for me. Rotating, leg comes out, one hand beneath the shoulder, one up above. We're a nice straight line. We can keep the foot on the floor, or we can lift, palm turns towards the wall. We go over for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold. Palm faces forward. Remember, you don't have to have the foot up, you can have it down. Head can rotate up, going to challenge your balance a little bit more. Shoelaces to the floor, challenging. Toes tucked under, gives you a little bit more stability. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Bring it down into shell. Knees as wide as the mat. Big toes together. Bum comes back, head relaxes between. We've got that child's pose as an option. We've got bum up in the air as an option. Cushions between the bottom and the heels as an option. Reaching those arms forward, hold it there for a moment for me. Tailbone tucked under. Core engaged, nice and strong. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, walk your hands back, gently come upright. As you do so, just rotate your wrists in one direction and rotate in the opposite direction. Rolling over onto your back. So gently coming down. Remember, if you've got back issues, you're coming down on your side. Pelvic bridge. Hands beside the bottom. We're just going to stretch the hamstrings before we move into it. So we want the feet just beneath the knees. Draw one leg in, take the leg up, take hold of the back of the thigh, or maybe if you've got a strap, you can straighten it out. We're just holding it there for a moment. And you want to be feeling that stretch on the back of the thigh. Remember, the straighter the leg, we're more feeling that in the hamstring. It's not about getting it to the upper body. So nice and steady, just holding it there. Take a deep breath. Can we draw it a little bit closer? Feeling that stretch. Gently bring that leg across and just push the knee away slightly. So just gently push the knee across a little bit. So getting that stretch into the glutes a little bit. And then gently draw it back, take it down. Opposite leg comes up. We straighten out as best as we can. We can hold, we can use our strap. Maybe if we've got a good pair of leggings, we can pull on the leggings, or we can just let it hold it there. So nice and steady, controlled. With each deep breath as you exhale, trying to draw that a little bit closer and holding it. Very gently bend and bring it across. Hand on the thigh, push it away. Push it away. So you're getting that nice little stretch into the glutes. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, feet hip distance apart, hands just beside the side of the bum. Ready for pelvic bridge. Let us imprint the lower back, tucking the tailbone up to the ceiling. Begin to lift, and we're holding it in bridge position. So we want our knees, our hips, our shoulders in that nice diagonal line. We're holding it there. Put your hands on your ribs. Check that they're not splaying upwards. It's not yoga. We don't want the calf. We want that nice diagonal line. Then bring your hands to your hip bones. Lift both heels and down. Lift both heels and down. Keep going with that for me. As you're lifting those heels, you want to be keeping the hips level. So nice and steady, lift up, hips stay level, bring them down. Level, bring them down. Just for 4. And 3. Excuse me with my leggings today, do me in. 2. And hold this last one. Can we hold it there? Holding it here. So as you're holding it, you should be feeling it in the glutes, feeling it in the thighs, front and back. Nice and strong. Can we keep that lift? Can we make sure we're not lifting the ribs, keeping that nice diagonal line. Just for 4, just for 3, just for 2, just for 1. Heels come down. Hold just the bridge. Just for 8, just for 7, for 6, for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Upper back, mid back, lower back. Imprints, or just rock the pelvis. Just rock the pelvis back and forth. And then gently let it come to neutral. Very gently rolling onto your side. Take one leg up, take a hold, drawing the knees together, just stretching out. You may want your cushion in your book. Hold it here. I've just realised that when I come to standing, I'm going to go completely out of shot, so I apologise. So just stretching into the quads, the front of the thighs, this big muscle here, our quadriceps. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, let's roll onto the opposite side. So I'm going to be rude and turn my back to you for a very brief moment, so I apologise. Stretching and holding. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, take your leg down, roll onto your front. Gently push up, push on and back towards the heels, coming onto your side. If that's uncomfortable, gently come up, gently swing your arms backwards and forwards, increasing your heart rate. Take one leg forwards, weaker leg is going forwards. Take a moment, check everything's engaged. Toes tucked under is going to give assist, foot flat to the floor, going to make it more challenging. Hands by the side, inhale up, exhale. Lovely body shot of me there. So, feet hip distance apart, roll your shoulders, 1, 2, 3. Tailbone under, pelvic floor engaged, peach under the chin, coming down. You're all done. Well done. Different kind of flow today with us being completely down on the floor, but hopefully you enjoyed it. So just, you know, constructive feedback's always welcome. Meanness, just don't bother. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Take care. Keep safe. Keep sane.